Welcome everyone to the midweek service here at Interlochen Assembly of Yahshua. We want to remind everyone that this will be the last midweek service that we'll have until after Tabernacles. We will announce when we start again. It'll probably be close to November when we start the midweeks again, because it'll be the middle of October before we finish Tabernacles. But we're glad for everyone that's here. We started a couple of weeks ago with tracing Israel. We went back to start talking about Abraham. Last week we talked about Isaac. We plan to talk about Jacob today. We may or may not get there. We have asked people to come up with questions, and we appreciate it when you do. This week, my brother, Terry, called me, and he's been studying parts of the Torah, and he had some questions. So we're going to start reading in Leviticus chapter 25. Paul, if you'll turn to that, page 138.
You said chapter 25?
Chapter
Check.
25 in Leviticus. We're going to read it down to verse 39. We'll stop on 38. So, Leviticus chapter 25, page 138 in the Word of Yahweh. Paul, have you got there?
I'm here. Ooh, is that loud?
All right.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Is that too much? Okay. All
you're
right.
fine.
All right. Going to 38. And Yahweh spoke to Moshe in Mount Sinai, and he said, "Speak to the children of Israel, and say to them, when you've come into the land which I give to you, well, then shall the land keep a Sabbath to Yahweh. For 6 years you shall sow your field, and for 6 years you shall prune your vineyard and gather in its fruit. But in the 7th year there shall be a Sabbath of rest to the land, a Sabbath for Yahweh. You shall neither sow your field nor prune your vineyard. That which grows of its own accord from your harvest, you shall not reap it, neither shall you gather the grapes of your vine undressed, for it is a year of rest to the land. And the Sabbath of the land shall be food for you, and for your servant, and for your maid, and for your hired servant, and for the stranger that sojourns together with you, and for your cattle, and for the beasts that are in your land, shall all the increase of it be food." Verse 8, "And you shall number 7 Sabbaths of years to yourselves, 7 times 7 years. And the space of the 7 Sabbaths of years shall be to you 49 years. Then shall you cause the trumpet of the Jubilee to sound on the 10th day of the 7th month. In the day of atonement shall you make that trumpet sound throughout all of your land. And you shall hallow the 50th year, and proclaim liberty throughout all the land to all the inhabitants of the land. It shall be a jubilee to you, and you shall return every man to his possession, and you shall return every man to his family. A jubilee shall that 50th year be to you, And you shall not sow nor reap that which grows of itself in that year, nor gather in it from your vine undressed. For it is the Jubilee, it shall be holy to you. You shall eat the increase of that year from out of the field. In the year of this Jubilee you shall return every man to his possession. And if you sell anything to your neighbor, or buy anything from your neighbor's hand, you shall not oppress one another. According to the number of years after the Jubilee you shall buy from your neighbor, and according to the number of years of the fruits he shall sell to you. According to the multitude of years you shall increase the price of whatever it is you sell, and according to the fewness of years you shall diminish the price of it. For according to the number of the years of the fruits does he sell to you. You shall not, for this reason, oppress one another, but you shall instead fear or revere your Elohim, for I am Yahweh your Elohim. So you shall do my statutes, and keep my judgments, and do them, and you shall dwell in the land in safety. And the land shall yield her fruit, and you shall eat your fill, and dwell in the land in safety. And if you shall say, well, what are we going to eat on the 7th year? Look, we shall not sow nor gather in our increase. Then, verse 21, I will command my blessing upon you in the 6th year, and that blessing, shall bring forth fruit for 3 years. And you shall sow on the 8th year, and eat from the old fruit until the 9th year, until her fruits come in, you shall eat of the old store. The land shall not be sold forever, for the land is mine, for you are strangers and sojourners with me in this land. And in all the land of your possession you shall grant a redemption for the land. If your brother becomes poor and has sold away some of his possessions, and if any of his kin come to redeem any of those possessions, then shall he redeem that which his brother has sold. And if the man has no one to redeem it, and himself is able to redeem it, then let him count the years of the sale of that, and restore the overplus to the man to whom he sold it to, so that he may return to his possession. But if he's not able to restore it to him, then that which is sold shall remain in the hand of the one who has bought it until the year of Jubilee. And in the Jubilee it shall go out, and he shall return to his possession. And if a man sells a dwelling house in a walled or fenced city, then he may redeem it within a whole year after it is sold. Within a full year he may redeem it. And if it is not redeemed within the space of a full year, then the house that is in the walled city shall be established forever to the one who bought it throughout his generations. It shall not go out in the Jubilee. But the houses of the villages, that have no wall round about them, shall be counted like the fields of the country. They may be redeemed, and they shall go out in the Jubilee. Notwithstanding, the cities of the Levites, the houses of the cities of their possession, may the Levites redeem at any time. And if a man purchases from the Levites, then the house that was sold and the city of his possession shall go out in the year of Jubilee, for the houses of the cities of the Levites are their possession among the children of Israel. But the fields of the suburbs of their cities may not be sold, for it is their perpetual possession. And if your brother becomes poor and fallen in decay with you, then you shall relieve him. Yes, even though he's a stranger or a sojourner, you shall relieve him, so that he may live with you. Take no usury from him, nor increase, but instead revere your Elohim, so that your brother may live with you. You shall not give him your money upon reception of usury, nor lend him your food for profit. I am Yahweh your Elohim, that brought you forth from out of the land of Egypt, to give you the land of Canaan, and to be your Elohim.
All right, thank you. Brother Terry called me, and he was concerned because he read where the year 2025 is a Jubilee year. And I asked him where he got that. He said he got it from AI.
Artificial intelligence, huh?
Artificial intelligence. So it got me to thinking, and so I began to look into it. So I went on the internet and looked into what it had to say about it. So I will read to you what we copied down. In ancient Judaism, the Jubilee year, which was called the year of Yobel, of the goat, because the holiday was proclaimed by the sound of a goat's horn, was a year that was declared holy. During this period, the Mosaic law prescribed that slaves could regain their freedom, and that land of which Yahweh is the sole master should be returned to its former owners. A Jubilee year was typically celebrated every 50 years. In the Christian area, after the first Jubilee of the year 1300, Pope Boniface VIII fixed the frequency of Jubilee celebrations to be every 100 years. Following a plea from the people of Rome to Pope Clement VI, 1342, the frequency was reduced to every 50 years. In 1389, in remembrance of the number of years of the life of the Messiah, Urban VI chose to set the Jubilee cycle every 33 years and called for a Jubilee in the year 1390, though it was only celebrated after his death by Pope Boniface IX. Despite this, in 1400, at the end of the previously fixed 50-year period, without having declared a Jubilee ahead of time, Boniface IX granted a Jubilee indulgence to the pilgrims who had flocked to Rome. In other words, they were forgiven their sins. In 1425, Martin V celebrated a new Jubilee, opening the holy door of St. John Lateran for the first time. The last to celebrate a Jubilee on the 50-year cycle was Pope Nicholas V in the year 1450. Pope II, I guess that's John II, extended the inter-Jubilee period to 25 years. And in 1475, a holy year was celebrated by Sixtus IV. From then on, ordinary jubilees were held at regular intervals. Unfortunately, the Napoleonic Wars prevented the celebrations of Jubilee from 1800 to 1850. The Jubilees were resumed in 1875 after the annexation of Rome to the Kingdom of Italy. although that year it was celebrated without the traditional solemnity. The source, WW Jubilee 2025. I can't read the rest of it. I don't know what it is. So the Pope has claimed that this year, 2025, is a year of Jubilee. Now, as I explained to Terry the other day, there's no possible way they could know when the year of Jubilee is. In 1948, the people over there in Judah, called themselves Israel, decided that 1948 would be a year of Jubilee, since that is the year that the United Nations had voted in 1947 to establish this new nation, and it was established in 1948. Excuse me. So they said, this will be a jubilee. Many of them celebrated it in 1998. But they have no way of knowing. You have something to say?
Yeah, I believe I do. The Christian viewpoint of the Jubilee probably does not incorporate anything that's spoken of in Torah about it being a year of release.
Right.
Land release or slavery release or anything of the sort. It was simply a day to celebrate a certain period of time that had passed. For what reason, what purpose Christianity had for it, we don't know.
Very well. The point I was going to make is after this was written in the Torah, one little mention in the book of Numbers, never mentioned again in the Torah. During the time that Israel was in Egypt, 400 years, never mentioned. During the time they came out, went into the land of Canaan, set up nations, never mentioned. During the time of the kings, David, Solomon, all the kings, never mentioned. Not only that, the 7-year rest is not mentioned.
It's the land rest.
The land rest is not mentioned, only to the point when Yahweh took them off the land and said, now I will give the land the rest.
70 years.
In the New Testament, it is not mentioned. Not one time. During the life of Yeshua, not mentioned. During the time of Paul's epistles, not mentioned. Think about that now, man. They're not mentioned. Not kept. If it was kept, it was never. Several times they got together and had a big Passover. At the time of Ezra and Nehemiah, they got together and had a tabernacles. But no Jubilee, no land rest, ever. Question is, why? Why didn't Jeremiah mention? What about Isaiah? How come he never mentioned it?
Is it possible that since the land had been overthrown by foreigners, that those in captivity could not possibly give or keep, according to the rules and the laws of their captors.
Well, the ones living away from the land, of course, they wouldn't.
Right. But the ones that were still in the land, they had no one to remind them, to enforce the rules and say, look, remember this? We're supposed to be doing this.
You had 480 years from the time of the Exodus to the time they started the temple. 480 years of the judges.
Right. And the judges evidently, it's not recorded that they influenced the land Sabbath nor the Jubilees.
So Terry asked me, the reason he was asking is because it makes it very plain that Jubilee was actually celebrated on the Day of Atonement in that 50th year. Now, the Day of Atonement was celebrated every year. And that's when they brought the two goats in, laid hands on them, put Israel's sin in both goats. One of them they killed right there, sacrificed it for Israel. The other sent it out into the world. That happened every year. But no land rest, no 7th year, no 50th year. So I ask myself the question. I'm asking you, what do you think about it? I'll tell you one thing that is in my mind on this thing. In the 6th chapter of Genesis, this is the chapter where Yahweh really got fed up with the people. And it said, and it come to pass when men began to multiply on the face of the earth, and daughters were born unto them, and the sons of Elohim saw the daughters of men, that they were fair, and they took them wives, all of which they chose. And Yahweh said, my spirit shall not always strive with man, for he is also flesh, yet his days shall be 120 years. Well, we know, if you notice here, he's talking about all man. He's not just talking about particular men. The days of all man will be 120 years. Now, if you take 120 jubilees, 120 times 50 is exactly 6,000.
Okay.
I believe that's what he's talking about there. He's given man 6,000 years to do with as he wants to do. Now, the 120th Jubilee, in my opinion, will happen the day that Yeshua comes back. That will be the end of the 6,000 years. My opinion. Anybody have anything, Paul?
I believe that when the Master Yeshua returns and establishes when Yahweh turns and gives the dominion over the earth to his people. Master Yeshua will be here to govern them, and not only govern them, but govern the entire earth. But I believe that whatever was started back in the day will be picked back up again at that time, at least for that 1,000 years.
Of course, in Ezekiel, which we'll get to pretty soon, in the coming kingdom, the 7-year rest or Jubilee is not mentioned.
No.
In the book of Revelation, the 7-year rest or the Jubilee is not mentioned.
Right.
So I don't know. There's a lot of things I don't know.
I'm banking on the fact that Yahweh's word does not come back void, and that he has kept and is keeping a careful record of all of this, and will return his ways. There'll be a reverence for Yahweh like has never been done before.
Of course, I believe.
But he's going to return it back to the way that it should have always been. I do believe that.
Very possible. And more, I'll say more probable. I was shocked myself when Terry brought this up. I expected my grandson and I sat down together last night and started studying this thing out, and we were amazed. We didn't realize this. None of it was ever mentioned again. Not even mentioned. All the times that Ezekiel and Jeremiah and Isaiah brought up the sins to people, never mentioned it. I think it leaves a lot to be understood.
There are probably individuals who have kept these times, these set apart places, set apart times for the land Sabbath, and for I've heard it talked about in sacred name circles. Today, very few people are in an agriculture or agrarian society, and so there's no call to enforce or to remind people of the land Sabbath other than by pointing it out in an obscure set of scriptures somewhere. But I believe that there are those who do that. And they still continue to do that, and they will. But they're very few. Very few.
People over there in Israel have no more idea than we do, in my opinion. The timing, the count has been lost.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
It's been lost, and
even
until Yeshua comes back, excuse me.
Yeah, okay.
But until Yeshua comes back, there's a lot of things we're not going to know about until then.
I would say even the count, when you'll hear from circles who claim to be of the Jewish faith, and they will proclaim that it is so-and-so year, and we're nearing the 6,000th year according to their count. But we can't be sure of the accuracy of those things.
That's right. Well, I appreciate all of you that are here. Do you have any more questions? Reba had a question. But we will go into it a little later,
That
okay?
makes no sense.
Something we need to talk about, I'm sure. Everyone here has talked about
so that's
it,
every 50 years.
or has heard talk about it, but this is something new to her,
124.
and we will get to it as soon as possible. All right,
50 years in one day.
You know, we was reading last week how Isaac prayed for his wife, Rebekah, and she had twins, twin boys. And they struggled with each other in the womb. And when they come out, Jacob grabbed Esau by the ankle.
The heel.
Was it by the wrist?
By the heel. By the heel.
By the heel. By the heel.
That's
Yeah.
why his name Jacob means heel holder or supplanter.
All right. So Jacob was the favorite of Rebekah. Esau was the favorite of his dad. Esau was a man of the forest. He went out, did hunting, and his dad liked the savory meat that he made. Now, when the time come that the blessing was going to be given, Rebekah heard when Isaac told his son to go out, hunt him. I imagine it was the deer, and come in and make him some good food that he liked. Now, Isaac was old and blind, not able to see, pretty bad shape. So Rebekah told Jacob, that I will make some meat. Is there something going on over here?
No, just Jaylee doing her
All
thing.
right. She said, I'll fix the meat. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to dress you up to smell like your brother. I'm going to dress you up to feel like your brother, so that we can fool your father. Jacob went in there to do it. And Isaac says, reached out and felt him. He felt the hairy shoulders. He said, you sure feel like Esau, but you sound like Jacob. Oh, I'm your first son. So he said, all right. And his father Isaac, now, by the way, if you want to read, this is Genesis chapter 27, starting in verse 26. I'm going to start there. And his father Isaac said unto him, come near now and kiss me, my son. And he come near and kissed him, and he smelled the smell of the raiment, and he blessed him and said, see, the smell of my son is as the smell of the field which Yahweh has blessed. Therefore Elohim give thee of the dew of heaven, of the fatness of the earth, plenty of corn and wine. Let people serve you, nations bow down to you. Be ruler over thy brethren, and let thy mother's son bow down to thee. Cursed be every one that curses thee, and blessed be every one that blesses you. That's the blessing that he laid upon Jacob. Now, as soon as Jacob had got this blessing and left, in walks Esau. And he says, I'm here. Here's your savory meat. I'm here to get my blessing. Isaac says, I just gave your blessing to someone else. He said, who are you? He said, I'm thy son, thy firstborn, Esau. And Isaac trembled very exceedingly and said, who? Where is he that hath taken venison and brought it me? And I have eaten of all before you come. And I blessed him. Oh, yeah, and he shall be blessed. And when Esau had heard the words of his father, he cried with a great and exceedingly bitter cry, and said unto his father, bless me even also me, my father. And he said, your brother come with subtlety, and have taken away thy blessing. And he said, is not he rightly named Jacob? For he has supplanted me these 2 times. He took away my birthright, and behold, now he's taken away my blessing. And he said, hast thou not reserved a blessing for me? And Isaac answered and said unto Esau, behold, I have made him your ruler, and all his brethren have I given to him for servants. And with corn and wine I sustained him. What shall I do unto you? And Esau said unto his father, don't you have one little blessing, my father, that you could bless even me also? And Esau wept, lifted up his voice and wept. And Isaac, his father, answered and said unto him, behold, your dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth, and of the dew of heaven from above. And by thy sword shalt thou live, and thou shalt serve thy brother. And it shall come to pass that thou shalt have the dominion, that thou shalt break, that when thou shalt have the dominion, that thou shalt break his yoke from off your neck. And Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing wherewith his father blessed him. And Esau said in his heart, the days of mourning for my father are at hand. Then will I kill my brother Jacob. He said this in his heart. And these words of Esau, her elder son, were told to Rebekah. You get that? Esau said these things in his heart, and these words were told to Rebekah. And she sent and called Jacob, her younger son, and said unto him, behold, thy brother Esau, as touching you, does comfort himself, proposing to kill you. Now therefore, my son, obey my voice, and arise and flee to Laban, my brother, to Haran, and tarry with him a few days until your brothers fury turn away. Until thy brother's anger turn away from thee, and he forget that which you have done to him. Then I will send and fetch you from thence. Why should I be deprived of you both in one day? And Rebekah said to Isaac, I'm weary of my life because of the daughters of Heth. If Jacob take a wife of the daughters of Heth, such as these which are of the daughters of the land, what good should my life be to me? So, I'm always amazed when I look at the clock. Where's the time go? Jacob goes into Haran. He sees Rachel, falls in love with her, goes to his uncle and says, I want that girl to be my wife. And his uncle said, okay, if you'll work for me 7 years, you can have her. So he went to work, and it just seemed like a few days to him. Time just went by. 7 years, she goes and says, I want my wife. So his uncle says, okay, we're going to have a big wedding. Now back then, what they sort of had, they had a marriage chamber. And in this marriage chamber, the bride was in the chamber. The groom is out drinking up with all of his friends, celebrating. And at the end of the party, he goes into the marriage chamber. Must have been pretty dark in there. He goes in there, and I'm surmising this. He wakes up the next morning and looks over there, and there's no Rachel there. There's a Leah there. Leah wasn't very pretty. Scripture says she had weakness in her face. So he goes to his uncle and says, wait a minute now, I worked 7 years for Rachel. And he says, well, we have a thing here. The younger daughter can't be married until the older one is married. Now, if you'll work another 7 years, you can have the other one. Jacob's been had. He realizes it, but he don't have a choice. He says, okay, I'll work another 7 years for this. But when the marriage time, whatever that was expired, his uncle went ahead and gave him Rachel. Although he still had to fulfill another 7 years. Now, Yahweh loved Leah. Right away, she has a son. Named him Reuben. And right after that, she has another son. Name him Levi. And right after that, she has another son. We'll name him Simeon. And right after that, she has another son. we'll name him Judah. And Rachel says, what about me? What about me? She complained to her husband, give me children. And he says, am I Yahweh, that I can open your womb? So Rachel has an idea. She has this servant girl by the name of Bilhah. I'll have children through her. So she gives Bilhah to her husband. She has a son by the name of Dan. She has another son. I forgot his name.
Ishmael, wasn't it?
No, it wasn't. It'll come to me. So Leah says, two can play that game. So she has a servant girl also, and she gives her servant girl to her husband. And she has a son. I can't really remember all the names right off. And she has a second son.
Dan and Naphtali.
See?
Dan and Naphtali.
Dan and Naphtali was from Bilhah,
Bilhah?
but from, what was her name? Leah?
Leah.
I can't remember her name.
Zilpah.
Bilhah was the first one.
Zilpah. With a Z. Zilpah.
Zilhah, okay. And she had two, I believe it was Gad and Asher.
Right.
So that was 8 sons. And then Leah has 2 more, which was Zebulun and what was the one you said? Issachar, right. So that's 10. All this time, Jacob is working another 7 years for flock. Now, Jacob was had when it come to the wives. So Jacob and how this works, I have no idea. But he takes the limbs and cuts the bark off in certain areas and puts it up in front of all the cattle, in front of all the ewes when they're eating and drinking, and it caused them all to have whatever he had agreed to. He went to his uncle and he says, I'll take all the ones that are spotted and brown, and all the pretty white ones will be yours. And so all the cattle started having young, spotted, and brown.
Let the strong ones produce for him and the weak ones produce for Leah.
Right. So, in this last 7-year period, almost all of Laban's flocks become Jacob's. And at the end of this 21 years, Jacob's looking around at all his cousins, and they're getting upset because they can see everything of their father going to Jacob. So Jacob sneaks off in the middle of the night, takes his family, his 4 wives, and his 11 children, because Joseph was born right before Rachel finally had a son, Joseph. So he took his family and 11 sons and headed back home. Laban chases him down, brings a little army behind him, but Yahweh tells him in the night, don't touch him. Do not touch him. So Laban gets there, and here he is. He's chased him down, and he can't do anything. So they make an agreement, a covenant, and Laban says, I will not cross the river, I will not cross the mountain to come to you. And you don't cross the river or cross the mountain to come back to me. They made that agreement. Jacob left there, went back, met his brother. He feared. In chapter 28, Jacob went out from Beersheba. Now this is when he was on his way over there. He laid down to go to sleep. Now this is right before he come back in contact with Esau. And Jacob was left alone, and there he wrestled with a man until the break of day. And when the man saw that he prevailed not against him, he touched the hollow of his thigh. And the hollow of Jacob's thigh was out of joint as he wrestled with him. And he said, let me go, for the day breaketh. And Jacob said, I will not let you go, except you bless me. And the angel said unto him, what's your name? And he said, Jacob. And he said, your name shall be called no more Jacob, but Israel. For as a praise hast thou power with Elohim and with men, and have prevailed. And Jacob asked him, well, tell me, I pray you, what's your name? And he said, wherefore is it that you ask after my name? And he blessed him there. And Jacob called the name of the place Peniel. For I have seen Elohim face to face, and my life is preserved. Jacob came back, met Esau. Both of them had great flocks, great riches. Jacob insisted on giving gifts to Esau, but they saw that there was no room for both of them to live together. Esau went off to live in Mount Seir. Jacob went on to live in the area where his father and his grandfather had lived. Jacob journeyed to Succoth. He built him a house and he made booths for his cattle. Therefore, the name of the place is called Succoth. And Jacob come to Shalom, a city of Shechem, which is in the land of Canaan. Any questions? We looked at Abraham, we looked at Isaac, we got a glimpse of Jacob. There's a lot more to Jacob. The story of Joseph. These things that we will.
I just had a question. I was wondering if what Laban did to Jacob was a sin, giving him Leah instead of Rachel at first.
Well, I can't say it was a sin. It wasn't a nice thing to do to him. Jacob had to pretty well put up with whatever he did. He fooled him. There's a lot of unanswered questions on things like that. Laban worshipped other gods. As a matter of fact, that's one thing he wanted. When they left, his gods disappeared. Rachel had them. And the little story there is that she was sitting on them. And when Laban come in to search her tent, she said, well, I'm in the way of women, so you can't mess around here. Jacob, a little later on, after he had wrestled with Yahweh, told him, get rid of all these false gods, which they did. They buried them. Buried them in the ground. We won't have any more Bible studies probably until the first week of November. I'm not sure right now. We have Sabbath coming this week. And the next week, Wednesday, I think, it's the first day of October. It's the Day of Atonement. We will be fasting on September 30th at sundown until sundown on October 1st. What we usually do, we have what they call lunch meat. We have some of that. We have bread, drinks. Usually we get no complaints whatsoever because everybody's hungry. And they're just glad to have something to eat. Service will be at 5 p.m. on the Day of Atonement. We meet at 5. By the time we have a service, it's usually sundown. And we make sandwiches, have drinks, fellowship. Anything else anybody got? Paul? All right. Heavenly Father, thank you so much. Thank you for all you do for us. And you do an awful lot. We know it. Ask a blessing, Father, upon your people. I ask, Father, mercy and forgiveness for all of us. That we stand clean before you. We ask Brother Lester, Brother Kerry, Sister Shauna, lift them up. I ask for a blessing for myself and healing. I thank you, Father, for each and every brother and sister that's here, that may see this later. Bless Sister Linda, our daughter Linda. We hope to see her soon. In the name of Yahshua. Hallelujah.